Hey guys, how you doing? Ryan Hamer here. Hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk to you about the difference between having a high credit score and having credit experience. And a lot of people get confused insofar as that they think that, hey, you know what? I just need to have a great credit score, a high credit score, and that's it. That's the end all, that's the be all. That's all I need to be able to get that house, to be able to get that car, and to have the kind of sustainable life that I need and want. Well, nothing could particularly be further from the truth. You see, let me give you an example of what I mean by that. If I were to give you $1 million today, what are the odds that you'd be able to double that $1 million, be successful with that $1 million, never lose a dollar of that $1 million, and still be rich, say, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? The chances are you most likely will have lost all your money. You probably will have made some bad investments. You might have had some friends or family that would have sued you for that money, and or you might have gotten divorced, and she or he would have taken half of your money, and you would have spent the other contingent of that money on lawyer fees and stuff like that. So what am I telling you all this for, and what does it mean, and why is it important? Well, the fact of the matter is, if you had a financial advisor, or if you had financial or business acumen, or if you had experience, that's what I'm alluding to. Experience is the key, crucial, important ingredient in the situation, right? If you had experience or knowledge, then most likely it would be more difficult for you to lose your money. It would be more difficult for you to run into a situation in which you wouldn't have the foresight or the mindset and to be able to work your way out of or see your way through. If that makes sense to you, let me get a thumbs up right now. Okay, now where I'm going with this as we take it over to the credit side, it's not just enough to have great credit. It's not just enough to have a great credit score. And a lot of people get confused between the credit score and the credit profile and the data and the different lines of credit. So I always talk about having a good credit mix, and a good credit mix of different types of products and things of the sort, because if you have a couple of loans, like maybe a car loan, maybe an installment loan, maybe if you also have some revolving credit, a couple of credit cards, and you also have maybe a line of credit, stuff like that, that's a good mix of credit, because what happens is lenders and banks and stuff like that, and the algorithm of the credit bureaus are able to see, okay, look, whoa, okay, he or she is able to manage this amount of debt, right? You're able to manage the car loan. You're able to manage the line of credit. You're able to manage your overdraft, right? You're able to manage that loan from wherever. And once you're able to keep all these balls in flux and in motion, then it's easier for them to look at you and say, yeah, he or she has been able to manage these different types of credit. So their credit score has consistently remained, I don't know, over 750, 800, whatever it may be, right? But the benchmark, like, let's just say 700 is that line in the sand. And you've consistently been able to have your credit score high, or within that range. And it's been years and years and years. There haven't been any collections on your credit bureau report, no bankruptcies, no consumer proposals, none of that stuff. Not a lot of inquiries, because you don't really need much. You have money coming in. You're able to service your existing debts without any issues or problems. And financial institutions look at you and say, okay, well, he or she has credit and they have experience. And the reason why this is important is because there are some people that come into the credit game with that $1 million or they kind of come in with that $1 million sort of right away. Not necessarily right away, but close enough to it. So what do I mean? Well, there's some people that they come in with a decent credit score and it goes up with their, say, first credit card or something like that. Or you'll have immigrants that come into the country and the banks are sort of falling over themselves to give them lines of credit or give them a mortgage and credit cards and stuff like that. Students go away to university and they get instantly approved for a credit card or multiple credit cards or a line of credit. They instantly get student loans, and they have that huge installment loan right away in the form of a student loan. So they don't really have to go through the traditional sort of checks and balances to acquire these types of products, or that you and I would, because you're a student or because you're a new immigrant. It's a little easier for you to get your foot in the door, just because the banks want a forever client, right? So they're giving you a little bit of a bribe. They're greasing the wheels a little bit for you, so you get in. But the problem is, if you don't have somebody to tell you how to manage that credit, then you can mess it up quickly and easily. So it can be as simple as a cell phone that you mess up, and it ends up in collections, and then your score goes down the tubes. And so my whole point with the analogy of the $1 million is that if I give you $1 million and you don't have the wherewithal, if you don't have the sense, the credit sense, and the credit IQ to be able, the financial IQ to be able to navigate the trippy waters of having that great amount of money, then the same thing with you're definitely going to lose that $1 million. You're definitely going to lose your great credit. So it's the same thing with credit. It's not $1 million, but you have the potential to borrow your way up to $1 million, or to acquire like a lot of holdings and stuff like that if you have good credit and you're able to utilize it and work it well within your wheelhouse, work it well within your capabilities, or to the best of your abilities. A lot of us, it's like I always say there's an old story. The farmer's daughter lived a very sheltered life, lived at home on the farm, not used to going to the big city, and her father ruled her sheltered life with an iron fist. She gets to go to college outside of the town in the big city, and when she gets out there, she goes wild and has a grand old time, and sees things that she never expected to see, sees things that she never saw before. And it's the same thing when some people get a credit card, when some people get credit. They go wild and they spend wildly, and there's no checks and there's no balance, and they were never taught. They were scared. Their parents told them, credit is bad. You shouldn't trust the banks and stuff like that. That's why we put our money in a little tin box and bury it in the backyard, or hide our money underneath a pillow, or in a mattress somewhere. And the whole thing about it is, these things aren't true, but I'm trying to give you guys the understanding that there are some people that have a really bad perception mentality when it comes to money and when it comes to credit. So there's a whole term of generational curses, not necessarily generational wealth, and generational curses repeat. I always say families live in cycles, and when they pass on the same misinformation or lack of information onto their children, there's that old saying where history is doomed to repeat itself. And it's the same thing with money, same thing with credit. If your parents have had bad credit and they never taught you, and you never learned it, you're doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. You're doomed to repeat the mistakes that your parents made, simply because of the fact that you had no idea. Like I always say, you don't know what you don't know. So it's important that you understand that you have, they say, like Spider-Man says, or Uncle Ben says, with great power comes great responsibility. So when you get credit, you have the ability to do great things, but you also have to be greatly responsible with that which you have been granted, that which you have been given. Great credit is not a right. It is not a mandatory right. It is a privilege. And so you have the privilege of being extended credit, and you can simply go into debt really quickly, but you got to learn how to manage the debt. You got to learn how to manage your credit. You got to manage it and finesse it so it works to the best of your ability and your advantage. Okay, so you're going to start out with credit. Maybe you're not going to have the opportunities that a new immigrant might have. You're going to have the opportunity that a student might have, where they're extended credit early on in life or as soon as they enter the country. They're not going to be programs for you. You're a citizen, and your parents didn't tell you about credit, and you weren't advised. But somebody says to you, hey, you know what? You can get a credit card. So you get one. Then what do? You got to watch my other videos where we talk about how, you got to work on your utilization rate. Make sure that you don't use more than 20% or 30% of your credit card. Try not to carry a balance. Pay off your balance in full. Remember, there is due date, statement date, reporting date, all that stuff, right? So and don't be focused so much on the score. Okay, yeah, it's great. It's nice to have a score, but there are some people that have a great score, but they have, there's an old saying, all hat and no cattle. In Texas, they say all hat, no cattle. So you got that great score, but it's an empty husk, right? So you have a very weak credit profile insofar as that you don't have any installment loans, you don't have any revolving accounts, and you no credit cards or anything like that. Maybe you have one credit card with a low limit. Not saying that can't work for you, but the fact of the matter is, if you have multiple credit cards with a higher limit, it's better for you, because why? We talk about capacity. You want to have a good credit capacity insofar as that what sounds better? You showing that you can manage $5,000 every single month or $500 every single month. And don't get me wrong, I know we all have to start somewhere. So this is my point. It's not always about the high numbers, right? You have to have the credit mix, and you have to utilize that properly. You got to utilize that well. All right. So this was just a quick video. Not too quick, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood that it's not just the biggest deal to have that high score. And don't let anybody else tell you that, oh yeah, once you get a great credit score, you're good to go, because there's more behind it that they're not telling you. Anybody who tells you that, once you have a credit score of 750, that's it. That's all you need. Having a great credit score, because there are lots of people that have been rejected from getting a mortgage, even though they had a great credit score. And just because you have money, it doesn't mean that you can get a mortgage, right? If you haven't shown the bank that, hey, how did I get this money? I still got more money coming in, or I'm going to be able to service this debt of this mortgage. So it's a whole balancing thing, and everything works with like one hand washes the other. It's interdependent. Okay? So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, please feel free to like, share, and comment. And I also just want to let you guys know that I do also do credit consultations. So if you have some questions and you want to talk to me about something, I do paid credit consultations. So you can always get a hold of me or leave a message in the comments or what have you. All right. Thank you very much for taking time to watch this video. I wish you well, and I hope you got some value out of this. Please like, share, comment. Have a good one.